Hi class, my debate speech is on critical race theory. I am for critical race theory. I do believe that it should be taught in academics. My first argument is dismantling racism. Obviously, that is the core of teaching about race and how race basically, navigates throughout all aspects of life. CRT is a theory, but it is a concept that requires affirmative action. We pride ourselves on being equal and free, but yet I feel as if we kind of become numb to all the continuous tragedies and unjust policies that are based upon race. We've been conditioned to believe that we are the problem and that nothing will change. So I feel as if those who oppose it, they're kind of just in this whole color blindness, not taking accountability for the whole history of America, not just what's in the textbooks. When the ideology of racism is examined and racist injuries are named, victims of racism can find their voice. Further, those injured by racism discover that they are not alone in their marginality. They become empowered participants, hearing their own stories and the story of others, listening to how the arguments are framed, and learning to make the arguments themselves. I think that's very powerful because, of course, most of the time we don't want to feel like we're alone, especially when it comes to discrimination and oppression. So I think, learning about all our differences can unite us instead of dividing us. My second argument is segregated education and forgotten history, kind of like what I was talking about. What is taught in American education, that's only one narrative. It doesn't highlight, what minorities have, provided for the foundations of becoming America. It's very one-sided and what I'd like to call just white history. This basically just talks about, even at a young age, money can determine our futures, and it's an unequal start to, those who aren't fortunate enough to be able to attend the best schools. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because when we are able to defy adversity, the public then assumes that, okay, that school doesn't need funds because they're able to excel well without them anyways. So therefore we become invisible to what actually needs to be changed. So this basically talks about how everything intersects with one another: poverty, housing, careers, access to resources or lack thereof. Just the importance of examining, the psychology of how this whole debate is, of those who oppose and those who are for it. But in all, it teaches you to think more critically. And I think it's better to start earlier than later. I thought this statistic was really interesting. This picture is a little outdated, but I believe now it's 1 in 6 children instead of 1 in 5 live in poverty. So white fragility was popularized by Robin DiAngelo. She wrote a book on it. I believe that that's a great point to make when it comes to those who oppose it. I haven't found much research and more solid arguments of opposing CRT, but CRT is meant to extinguish unproductive guilt. And I think that's the perfect way to call it. It is unproductive. It strips away the opportunity to an open discussion. White fragility is a mechanism that prevents people from examining inward biases. So it's just a continuous, just keep happening if we don't talk about it. And I think I really thought this was a perfect quote as well. America treats history the way most people treat their browser history. They just delete all the embarrassing stuff and hope no one notices. But the good news is that as society changes, they re-examine the past and ask themselves, should we keep telling ourselves that what we wished happened, or should we understand what actually happened? Critical race theory is a concept that has been around for 3 decades. We live in a broken system that must continue to challenge and examine the realities of an ever-changing society that is rooted in white supremacy, the exploitation and oppression of minorities.